I've got 3 o'clock, so I think we'll get started. I'll be calling to order the Wednesday, October 31st, 2018 meeting of the Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Barnes. Here. Bauer. Here. Chaplin. Here. Cho. Farron. Present. Hannon. Dial.
Present.
Quorum is present.
Thank you. Our first item is approval of our agenda for today's meeting.
I move the agenda be approved as distributed.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda for our meeting. Any further comment? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote. Aye?
Yes.
Nay. Sorry. The ayes have it. Our next item is audience participation. And our public participation, as always, if anyone in the audience would like to speak, please approach the podium and state your name and address. This is an opportunity to make a statement to the Board of Trustees as a whole. We do not answer questions. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. There is a countdown timer, and the countdown clock will display your remaining time. Go ahead.
As you know,
could I have your name and address too? Thank you.
My name is Mark Thompson. I have a Dewey address. I'm the power of attorney for Sam Huntington, who was crippled on your bus in August of 2015. He's an incomplete quadriplegic. He's been horizontal for these last 3+ years. You all know the story because I've given it to you in paper, probably 40 pages worth to look at. Right, Mr. Gannett? I hold you responsible for the criminal fraudulent document that was submitted to his attorney. And we know that it was a crime. And you're getting away with it. And it's pathetic. You being a Christian man, Bible studies in your home, and you've done this on your watch. You got a picture of him the other day. You saw what he's like.
Mr. Thompson.
You saw what
Mr. Thompson.
Stop the clock.
Please
you got something to say?
Direct your comments to the board, please.
I'm gonna. They're next.
Thank you.
He was crippled on a bus, and then a fraudulent document was submitted by management, totally debunked by Antoine Cotton and Sam's narrative. And I gave this board a complete rundown on what occurred in that accident, and I made it clear you had a duty of care, and you've ignored it. If you had any type of conscience or backbone, you'd stand up right now and walk out of this room. But I don't expect that. A big word going around today is deplorable. I find every one of you deplorable. It's horrible what happened to this man. And it's quite clear what happened to this man. And yet the justice system failed him greatly, and now this board has failed him greatly. And he's going to die, because he does not get the technical care he needs in a nursing home for $1,147 a month. He's on a feeding tube and has to be fed through his stomach. He has to be changed and moved every 2 hours because of his bed sores. It's a horrible life he's lived. And as of today, he's given up hope. I was just at the nursing home with him. So you win, Mr. Gannett. You win. But I hope your conscience just buries you. I wish no ill will on you guys physically, but mentally I hope you take this anguish to bed every night, the way this man has had to. You have no idea the amount of pain this man goes through every day, cramping up in his legs and his arms. Incomplete quadriplegia is a case of you feel things, you just can't move them. And you folks who are in the gallery, who work at the MTD, if you know people in risk management who helped with that fraudulent document, I challenge you to have them come forward and tell the truth what this management team has done. It's criminal. As you can tell, I'm fit to be tied over this. For 3.5 years, well, 3+ years, I've been with Sam. I've watched the pain and suffering this man has gone through, and it's horrible. I wish it on no one. But you can't imagine You just can't imagine what that man has gone through because of that accident on the bus and the fact that justice was not served for him. Now, I watched this move towards this big expansion with the MTD and the new yard. And you want the people to trust what you tell them. Well, I'm here to tell you the people cannot trust what you tell them. I doubt that ridership is anywhere near what you convey to the people. I doubt very much that you can get this expansion done for $40 million. And I doubt that the people understand what UN Agenda 21 is, or 2030, and the role that the MTD plays in it, and that apartment complex, how it all plays together. I got 30 seconds left. Sam is penniless, and he'd like to be buried properly. You once offered $25,000 if we'd walk away, and it was a pittance given the fact that he had already sustained $1 million in hospital bills. He wouldn't have seen a dime of it. Now, he's going to be dead soon enough because he's given up the will to live. Perhaps you can find your way to drop 25 grand out of incidental labor or whatever you want to call it and bury the man. And I'm not surprised no one stood up and left this room. Y'all are deplorable.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comment from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is approval of our board minutes from September 26, 2018. If you've had a moment to review those, I'd ask for a motion and second.
So move.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the board meeting minutes of September 26, 2018. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Communications, Carl.
I don't have any communications, but I believe that the admin chair does.
Sure. Dick, would you have anything for the administration committee?
Yes, just briefly, we met with Carl recently and discussed some minor changes in the evaluation process of the managing director position. And at our next meeting, we'll be sending out material that you'll see that reflects that. So just kind of fair warning, nothing huge, but just some minor changes we're proposing.
So we'll be getting that in December, and we'll be doing that right then to turn it back in, or will we be looking at it and then do you have a plan?
Carl, can you help me on the scheduling, the timing of it?
What do you think about that, Carl?
I believe what we've done in the past is we'll distribute it to you, and then each of you will fill out the form and return it back to the chair within a week, and then the chair and the vice chair of the admin committee will tabulate the results of the forms, and then I will meet with
Committee.
yeah, I'll meet with, well, not with the committee, but with the chair and the vice chair.
Chair and the vice chair, that's right, yes, correct. Okay, so you'll do that between then and the January meeting, and then the board will, you'll share the results at the January meeting.
Yes.
Okay, great. Any other communications from the board or?
Yes,
Go ahead, Jim.
facilities. We had the opportunity, myself, James Farron, fellow colleague, Ms. Bauer, and our esteemed managing director, Carl Burnett. We had earlier this month just a general discussion. He updated us on the continued discussion of the Illinois terminal expansion among the MTD, Champaign City, and developers on the finances. Also briefly touched on Urbana's development with the planning groups there, and that's where it is. And finally, again, something we'll touch on today, the shelters and the complexity of private land versus putting the shelters now on public right-of-way. So those were the topics presented. I don't know, Carl, if we've overlooked anything, or Linda, but it was productive, and I'm always happy to be kept in the loop.
Excellent, thank you. Anything else for communications? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports and start with the managing director's report. Carl.
All right, thank you. This is for September, and ridership in September increased 2.4% over the previous September, and so far for the fiscal year, it's up 6.1%. The September 2018 operating revenue was 9.1% below September of 2017, and the operating expenses were 4.6% above September of 2017, and the year-to-date operating revenues are $78,000 below budget, while operating expenses are $978,000 under budget. And just as a point of reference, the revenue discrepancies relevant to the previous year are primarily due to the changes in the U of I contract and the loss of revenue from the Carl IT department moving out of our administrative building. We have named Chuck Wilson, a 38-year veteran employee, as interim operations director, and I don't believe he's here. In fact, I know he's not here today, but he's a great guy that has been with the organization for nearly 4 decades. He was an operator for 35 years and never had a preventable accident in that entire time that he drove. And then 4 years ago, we promoted him to the assistant safety and training director position, and now he's in this interim operations director position. So that will give us a bridge as we look to fill that position in a full-time manner, and we're wanting to hold off on that until we have the chief operating officer position filled so that individual can participate in that process. And then finally, outside of what you have in front of you in the report, I just want to mention that on October 23rd at the Union League Club in Chicago, MTD was one of 27 recipients of the Illinois Sustainability Award from the Illinois Sustainable Technology Center. That is the second time that we've won that award. It is for our sustainability efforts, and in particular, this round is due to our continued purchase of hybrid buses and our solar array deployment. And if you have any questions, then I will take those through page 42.
Questions for Carl? Margaret?
This is my faulty memory. Do we have other open positions that we're finding people for besides the operations director?
Or like major
Like,
level
yeah,
positions,
major staff
management
people.
positions?
I don't remember.
Yeah, we have one other position that's posted right now, and that is for an employee services specialist. And I'm going to turn around behind me to ask Brenda, our chief administrative officer, when that posting closes. But it just opened, I think, a week ago or so. So we probably still have a little bit of time left on that, Brenda. It closes on November 12th. And then we have the chief operating officer position and the operations director, though we have, I don't consider the operations director position open right now since we have an interim filling of that position.
Any other questions from Jim? Go ahead.
Any timelines on these positions, particularly chief operating officer, Carl, or just we're?
I have been in communication with some potential candidates for the chief operating officer position. I hope to be able to have that position filled by the end of this calendar year, and then, excuse me, and then once that is filled and that individual is in place, then the operations director posting would be able to move forward.
And then with Mr. Wilson stepping up to fill that position, Is there adequate coverage from what he was been responsible for with an MTD, or how's that going?
Well, he is kind of straddling the fence right now. I mean, he still has a foot in the safety and training department, and he hasn't completely abandoned them. But he primarily is functioning out of the operations department right now. So there is a little bit of a vacuum there, but it's not a complete vacuum. But it's it's a good team building exercise. It's an opportunity for everybody to come
Cross-training.
together and work together and cross-train. Yeah, I say that with a smile on my face, but in all reality, it is a time when you see everybody step up, and it certainly makes me proud to see everybody come together and fill roles and make sure that the work gets done.
Thank you.
Carl, is that operations director position then, is that an internal posting, or will there be an external posting of that also? Does that start out internal, or?
I haven't completely made that decision yet, and I would like a COO to be able to weigh in on that.
Fair enough.
So it certainly will be an internal posting. The question is whether it will be external as well.
I understand. Thank you. Any other questions for Carl on his report up to page 42? Seeing none, we can move on to, go ahead, Jim.
Excuse me, I'm sorry for late to the draw. Page 28, the new flyer, I assume that's just that 1,000,002 is the buses, the hydrogen bus? Is that seen by far?
Not hydrogen buses. We just received those 3 buses that I reported on last month. But they're
Yeah.
hybrid buses, but
Hybrid, yeah.
yes, that's a payment for those vehicles.
Mix the terms. Okay, because that was by far the biggest outlay of cash. Thanks.
All right, our first action item for today is Resolution 2018-5, determining amount of money necessary to be raised by the tax levy on page 43. Carl.
So this is our annual levy resolution. And as you can see in the documentation, this is for a 21.69% increase to the levy. But I always want to note that is the size of the bucket. It's not the size of the amount of money that we'll be receiving, and that is because there's still some remaining questions about what properties will be included in the final EAV, equalized assessed valuation. And so we've calculated amount that will make sure that we are able to levy the entire EAV, however that gets determined. But if there are if properties aren't in that EAV, then that size of the levy just it's just on paper. It doesn't impact anybody.
And you've made your estimations based on figures that you've received from the county.
Yes.
That's their most accurate information.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions for Carl on this item? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion on this item. It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2018-5, determining amount of money necessary to be raised by the tax levy. This will be a roll call.
Barnes,
Yes.
Bauer. Chaplin. Cho. Farron.
No.
Hannon.
Yes.
Dial.
Yes. Motion carries. Our next action item is the MTD Master Bus Shelter Agreements for the City of Champaign and the University of Illinois.
These are agreement. I should mention that there will be one for Urbana coming up too. We're just not at the same timeline with that one that we are with these two. But these are agreements that codify the placement of bus stop shelters on public property, primarily in right-of-ways, between the university and the city of Champaign. The city of Champaign has already approved their agreement, and so this will complete that, and as an aside, this will allow us to place a bus stop shelter at Round Barn in the right-of-way, on Round Barn Road in the right-of-way, and it will allow us to place a few that have been requested around the iHotel and OSF and on Oak and Hazelwood.
Okay, any questions on these contracts or license agreements from the board? I'll ask for a motion to approve. It's been moved and seconded to approve the MTD master bus shelter agreements with both the City of Champaign and the University of Illinois. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Those were our last action items for the day. Our next meeting will begin with a public hearing for the tax levy and will be immediately followed by the regular Board of Trustees meeting. And that'll be Wednesday, December 12th, the 2018 at 3 o'clock right here in the council chambers again. There won't be a November meeting. We'll have a combined November-December meeting, and it's mid-month as opposed to at the end of the month. Anything else for the board at this time? If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved to adjourn. Have a great day. Thank you.